Welcome to Hot Takes, the MMA series where we talk about hot takes. And no, I really don't have a fucking better intro than that. This is why YouTube doesn't pay me. But basically, a few weeks ago or a week ago, some shit like that, I put out a post and I said, submit to me your guys' MMA hot takes. Hot takes for the UFC. I'd love to hear them, or we're going to be talking about them today. And if you have hot takes yourself, let me know in the comments below. But thank you to everybody who was sending shit in. Really appreciate it. But just going over this right here, we're starting off with Red Rotten Man Guy Person 9954. Bro, what the fuck are y'all, bro? Okay, but Red Rotten Man says that Pereira in light heavyweight is overrated as fuck. Now, I feel like that's two separate kind of statements. You're saying one, light heavyweight is overrated as fuck, and the other one being Pereira is overrated. Now listen, I could see the argument for Pereira being overrated, but I'll get to that in a second. I just want to say that light heavyweight, I wouldn't really say that it's overrated. It's very like properly rated. Like nobody's talking about this division like it's the deepest division, the most amazing strikers, the deepest of talents, or so many prospects coming up. Like light heavyweight, you know, it's kind of up there with flyweight and heavyweight for being the weakest divisions. Like comparatively to lightweight and welterweight and middleweight and bantamweight, like they're stacked divisions with a lot of deep talent, and even outside the rankings, like whether it be prospects or guys who've just been fighting to get a 10 number or like a number 15 spot. Like light heavyweight just isn't that deep. It doesn't have the craziest talents in the world. Like the guys that are really good, they're really fucking good. You know what I mean? Like Blachowicz, very underrated talent. Prochazka's fucking amazing. Big Ank's really talented. Like Pereira is a dominant champion, but there's just not a lot of substance or just so much overloaded talent for the division. I feel like it's very properly rated. It's definitely on the weaker side of things. It kind of gives me the vibes of like the flyweight and the heavyweight, you know what I mean? Like kind of relying a bit too much on that top five. But again, we got fucking Alexander Rakic in the top five. So I feel like light heavyweight is not overrated. I feel like it's definitely one of the weakest divisions and overall gets a lot of shit. There's some really good guys in there, don't get me wrong, and there's some intriguing matchups, but the division isn't overrated. But in terms of Pereira being overrated, I feel like it just depends who you fucking ask, to be honest, or when you're asking him. Like with all this shit for the Big Ank build-up, and holy shit, that fight's actually really soon. That's like the next pay-per-view. I just realized this, I'm talking out loud, but it's a heated subject whenever you just talk about Pereira, because his fans are willing to fucking die for him, alright? They're gonna stand that base, stand your fucking base. But sometimes, man, it's a double-edged sword, because it could be annoying, and it's like, that's why, dude, the Poetan fans, they're called Poetards for a reason, alright? They could stand their base a little too much, kind of overhyped sometimes. They just kind of say that Pereira beats everyone, or Pereira knocks out Aspinall in one round, or blah blah blah. And it's just like, I can understand that there are some aspects to Pereira that definitely are overrated, or if you just want to say Pereira is overrated, I could see that making sense. But I also think there's just as good of an argument to say he's underrated. Like there's a reason that this guy is getting really close to cracking like the top five fighters of all time. And I understand, like, you could say what you want about him fighting only strikers, or some of his wins have an asterisk, or whatever the fuck you want to say, or he doesn't have shit on the ground, he's one-dimensional, whatever the hell you want to say. Like, I feel like there's just as good of an argument to maybe say that he's underrated just as much as he is overrated. It all just depends on, I feel like, who you're talking about or what the circumstances are. But I feel like Pereira, honestly, while I do see this argument, all right, I can see this being a hot take, I feel like he's properly rated. Like, it just depends who you ask. Some people think that this guy's already in the top 5 fighters of all time, and some people don't even have him in the top 20 or anything close, and they're just going to talk a bunch of shit, and he just relies on the power, or he just is nothing but a striker, and even that, like, he's not one-hit flatlining motherfuckers. Like, I get both sides, but I mean, honestly, it's a pretty fair take. I could see Pereira. I see why people call him overrated, and I see why some people can call him underrated. But moving on, up next, the next one we got here. Obviously, y'all see the title in the thumbnail. Merab Goat says that DDP is going to be beating Hamzat. Now, I'm recording this specifically after UFC 312, and I did it for a reason, man. Just in the off, I had Drickus winning, all right? That was one of the bets I was proud of. I did pretty fucking awful with picks, but that was one of the picks I was proud of and confident, and with good reason. I ended up fucking 50-45 in them, or 49-46, and whatever the hell you want to say. But DDP, man, he's the fucking man. He's a few wins away from reaching like middleweight GOAT status, argue with the wall. And he's really just, he's been defeating all the allegations of just being a sloppy fighter, or having no cardio, or just there's no technique, there's no nothing. It's the drunk man, goofy ass, gooby goober style. I feel like he's more so coming into his own, and he's just going, you know, straying a bit further and further away from those kinds of allegations. And we're seeing how fucking good he is and the improvements he's been making in every fight. We see how well-rounded he is. He's just as good on the feet as if he is on the ground. Well, maybe not that exactly, but he's very very well-rounded. He's very efficient with everything, despite it looking all fucking goofy. The dude is good, and he's really coming to his own. And, like, I understand, you know, swinging and banging with the eyes closed a bit, but he's also really good at game planning or just in the middle of the fight adjusting to his opponents and what they're fucking throwing at him. So DDP, he's on top of the world, and I've been saying this for a while, all right? I've been saying this for a few fucking months now, but I really have been believing that DDP is going to be able to beat Hamza. Or not even that he could beat Hamza. Like, that's going to be my prediction. I've been saying it for months. I'm going to say it again, so I'm agreeing with Merab, all right? While I do classify this probably as a hot take, all right? I'm agreeing with you, all right? I do think that Chimaev's going to come out like a motherfucker. He's one of the best grapplers we've ever seen in UFC history. He knows what, like, we all know the game plan with Hamza Chimaev. He's going to try and either take your head off or squeeze your head off in the first round or two, and once you get past that, it becomes dangerous waters for him because he doesn't have that great of a gas tank. He's not that active of a fighter. His stand-up is solid, and he's got solid pop behind his shots, but he clearly relies on just hunting for the finish and just, like, is a lot more comfortable on the ground. But with a guy like DDP, man, who, like I was saying, he's very well-rounded and efficient in all regards, whether it be on the feet or on the ground, or whether it be a one-round stand-and-bang battle, you know, he's taking Bobby Knuckles' head off, or he's going in a 5-round fucking war back and forth both times with a guy like Strickland, or he's being the first guy to submit Adesanya. Like, I do think that Chimaev is probably going to be, I would say, probably Dricus' toughest test, if not one of his toughest tests yet. I just don't think that Chimaev has, like, the credibility yet, but, like, there's a reason why this guy's up next, and, like, why the UFC's really pushing it, but it's not getting a lot of, you know, pushback from fans. It's because we all know that Hamza, like, as much as there's guys like Imavov or Bravo, whoever the fuck, like, Hamza is going to be fucking dangerous. He's going to present a lot of problems. He's going to come out the gate like a motherfucker, hunting for the finish, going to be shooting a bunch of takedowns, and whether he's successful or not with that, like, it's the repetitiveness and the non-stop pressure he puts on you. Like, that's what DDP does so well too, though. Like, while Hamza Chimaev puts a really good pressure on guys, you know, like I said, hunting for the finish, trying to just take this fight to the ground, either hold you down for as long as possible, or again, just look for that submission. DDP is so good with not only handling pressure from other opponents, but also just putting it forward. Like, the aggressiveness from both these guys combined, dude, I feel like it'll blow the fucking roof off the place, because we saw with a guy like Strickland, who he's very comfortable when he's the one that dictates the pace, when dictates where the fight goes, and he's the one putting forward the pressure, but he gets very uncomfortable when there's someone on the other side who can match that energy or is doing it better than he can, hence why DDP went out there and kind of whooped him, you know what I mean? So Hamza's going to be fucking dangerous. He's going to be looking to take this fight to the ground and beat him up down there, and Chimaev, again, he's just so fucking skilled on the ground, and he's good enough to where he can hold his own on the feet, but again, I feel like if this fight goes out of the first round or two, it's just going to favor DDP more and more and more and more, and like, this is 5 rounds, alright? There's no more running for Chimaev, brother. Not that he's fucking running other than to the goddamn cage, but you know what I'm saying. So while I do think that this is a hot take, I'm agreeing with it. I think that DDP, I don't know how he gets it done, but I think that he's solid enough in the defensive grappling, and he has a good enough pace and pressure and cardio, and he's good enough on the feet. He's got a lot of pop behind his shots, alright? He confuses people with the awkward ass style, and even in the last Strickland fight, we saw a little bit, like, besides the 4th round, a bit more, I don't want to say patient and composed, but just a lot more technical with it, you know what I mean? So I think that DDP beats Hamza. I've been saying this, and I'm going to keep riding the hype train, so let's just fucking go DDP. So Hamza's going to present a lot of fucking problems. It's going to be a really close competitive fight, but I feel like if Chimaev doesn't take him out of there in the first round or two, I'm DDP all day. I'm DDP all day anyways, you know what I'm saying? That's my pick. I'm standing on my base on this one, so I'm agreeing with Merab Goat here. Moving on to the next take we got, coming from Otis Whaley, saying that Arnold Allen is the most underrated fighter in the UFC and should be in the top 5 featherweights. Now listen, I do think that Allen, I'm going to agree with you on this one. I feel like that's pretty fair to have this as a hot take, but it's like, listen, with Holloway getting booted out of the top 5 and Ortega kind of coming on a skid right now, and Rodriguez fighting fucking once a year in one location, and it's only the top 5 opponents, I feel like there's every reason in the world for Arnold Allen to be in the top 5. You know what I mean? I feel like the dude deserves it. He deserves it. He's coming off of a good win. It's not like he's got that crazy of a personality or anything like that, but like, the dude knows how to kind of bang a bit, and I understand why you're saying he's underrated and deserves to be in that top 5, because I would agree with you. I think he does. I think after he gets his next win, if it is a win, but I feel like if he just gets one more, he'll be cracking that top 5. So I do think that the dude's underrated as fuck as well. Allen is a really solid fighter who really doesn't get a lot of praise or attention, and again, I feel like that just goes back to he's not the most outwardly personality in the world. world, but like, I'm going to be agreeing with this one. I feel like Allen deserves a lot more respect on his name. And I wonder who they're going to match him up with next. I feel like you should book the Yair Rodriguez fight, especially now that Volkan Lopez is being so heavily talked about. This is a perfect time to do Yair Rodriguez versus Arnold Allen. It gives Rodriguez a chance to, defend the rankings and not just fight someone who's in that top 5. The Mexico City card, I mean, they were seriously going to give him fucking Lopez. It made no sense. So I think you should do Rodriguez versus Allen. It gives him a chance to defend his spot and face down the rankings a bit. And Allen, this is a perfect chance for him to crack the top 5. And if he really does lose to Rodriguez, who's super fucking dangerous in his own regards, it just goes to show why he deserves to be up there. But Allen is super underrated, man. He's got all the skill sets to go very far, solidly well-rounded, obviously kind of wants to keep the fights on the feet, kind of stand and bang a bit, but the dude is fucking good. And I do think that 2025, 2026, if he is active enough, I could see this being big years for him. Because the dude is young as well, man. He's just keeping on getting better, and he's coming off of a good win over Chikadze. So I'm going to be agreeing with you on this one, but the dude definitely does not get a lot of respect, or enough respect. So moving on, up next to No Bromo UFC, saying that MMA fans are some of the worst sports fans in existence, always salty, always angry at fucking something. Now listen. I agree with this to an extent, like for the most part. I will say, dude, that as many times as I feel like it is very valid to be complaining about the cards, or there's a shitty Apex card, or what the fuck is this matchmaking, or what the fuck is with making the UK fans stay up till 6 a.m. for the main event. Like, there's so many times where it is very valid for the MMA fans as a whole to just be complaining about shit. Like, I get why there's reasons to be upset about shit, but this is where I agree with this, because there are times where it just makes no fucking sense. Like, where if UFC, they could do some shit right, or they're trying something new, or they're putting on something entertaining, or they're doing something right, or they're putting on a solid card, solid matchmaking, whatever the fuck, bro. And then you got fans that are talking about it like it's fucking the Rosenstruck versus Gaziev card, or we're talking about Nama Yunez versus Cortez, or blah blah, or UFC 312, shit like that. Like, I feel like fans don't really like. This is not for everybody. This is just for the most part, just the angry fucking comment sections or whatever the hell. Like, I feel like they gotta, or I guess, we gotta, like, you gotta pick and choose your moments. Because, like, people were shitting on the Seattle card when it first came out. Like, what the fuck is this? This is garbage. Everyone was shitting on the co-main. The co-main was bad. I get that. But, like, people were shitting on the card as a whole, saying that the crowds are better. What the fuck are y'all smoking? Like, it's an amazing card to have in front of fans, and Seattle hasn't seen motherfuckers in, God knows, like, over a decade or some shit like that. And Uncle Dana was trying to put on something nice for the fans, and all they got at first was just a bunch of shit. So it's just like, I understand that, like, again, there's times to complain about shit, and it's very fucking valid. Like, the UFC Uncle Dana, sometimes they could fuck up, brother. Sometimes it's pretty fucking just wild why they would make this decision, or do this matchmaking, or book this kind of card, or what the fuck are they doing, blah blah blah. Like, and a lot of the times, right, the complaints are deserved. But there are times, man, where, like, I'm gonna agree with you, No Bromo. Like, it's so bizarre to call you that. I wish I knew your name, brother, but I'm gonna agree with you. Like, there's times where it's just like, why are y'all angry at this? Or, like, why are y'all so fucking pissed or pressed, or, like, just complaining this much about this? Like, it's actually pretty solid. Like, I feel like if the moments were just pick and chose a little better, all right? Know when to complain and know when to bitch about shit, and then know when not to, and when it's not deserved, right? I feel like it'd be a better place, and probably UFC would kind of take the complaints a little bit more seriously about shit, unless the numbers are fucking booming. We all know how much they love the goddamn numbers. Yeah, what was the question? Yeah, we broke the gate for the 18th time in a row. But listen, I just feel like I agree with this. While I do think that there's moments where it is very valid and deserved, I just think there's so many times where it's just like, why are y'all complaining about this? Can't we just fucking enjoy it, or just appreciate this shit, or, like, understand that it's not that bad of a thing we're getting? Or so again, it's tricky because it does just depend on the example, but for the most part, I do agree with you, brother. It's a bit painful to watch sometimes. But moving on, up next to another one we got here coming from Hamza Bors 1, saying that Holloway can still win a belt at 155. Now listen. Hey, it is what it is, brother. Hey, we'll find out Saturday night, you know? Hey, this kid's been a fan, man. We're going to find out October 26th. I feel like for as good as Holloway is, and for as far as he's going to go, and for he's still relatively young, man. The dude's in his middle of his prime. You could say it's his third fucking prime, whatever the hell. Like, I can see Holloway winning a belt, right? But this is a hot take, brother. This is a hot take. I just feel like it would be like a Dustin Poirier situation. For as good as someone like Dustin Poirier was, he was just in the era where it's like he had to face Khabib, Charles Oliveira, and then Islam Makhachev. Like, if you're the champion at lightweight, you're really fucking good. And especially now that we're seeing we're in Makhachev's era, he's getting closer and closer to being on Mount Rushmore. If some people don't already fucking have him there, it's crazy. He's already attained like the lightweight GOAT status. Like, you don't know when he's going to retire or how long he's going to be sticking around, or even if the guy's going to lose. Like, there's a chance Topuria could become the 155 champ. Like, then what the fuck is Holloway gonna do? You know what I mean? So while I do think that Holloway's very fucking good, and while I do think he's still in his prime, and he definitely has a chance at winning the belt, and again, one of the best strikers, boxers, whatever the fuck you want to call it, in the UFC, he's very elite, good takedown defense, so he would be able to do solid against a guy like Makhachev or Oliveira. Like, honestly, there's talks about him versus Oliveira maybe going down. I think that's a great fight to make, and I feel like that'd be a good test to see how far the Holloway can go at 155, because if you're beating Oliveira, especially someone like that who's going to be throwing you so many problems on the ground, I feel like it's a good testament to how maybe he would do against Makhachev, but I don't know if Holloway's going to be winning a belt anymore, man. Like, I feel like if there was a chance, it would be at 145, but even then, like, he lost to Volk 3 times, and then Topuria came in, now we're in Topuria's era, and it's like, I just can't see Holloway beating Makhachev. And then, you know, even if Makhachev isn't the champ, like, I feel like Saryukin, while maybe I would lean towards Holloway to win that fight, Saryukin is just so well-rounded and would give him a lot of problems. Then you've got, like, Oliveira, who, like, again, maybe I would lean towards Max in that fight, but I really don't know, because Oliveira is so fucking good as well. So it's definitely possible for Holloway to win a belt again, especially at 155, but again, that's kind of where just the division is going to be for the rest of his career. But I don't know, man. I feel like the champions at 155 are just, they're dangerous as fuck. They're well-rounded as fuck. They're just been consistently dominant. Like, again, we're coming off of Khabib, straight into Oliveira, and now straight into Makhachev, and God knows who the fuck's gonna be next, because these fuckers are setting the bar high. I do think it's totally possible, but this is a hot take, brother. This is a hot take. No disrespect to Holloway or any of the fans. I just don't think he's gonna be reaching a belt anytime soon. But it is possible. Again, the guy is still relatively young, so it's definitely possible. And again, one of the best strikers in the UFC. He's definitely got a good chance. And now that he's developing a bit more power, kind of bulking up a bit to be more comfortable at 155, shit like that. Like, there's things he's doing right to prep for this, and he's coming off an amazing win over Gaethje, which was at 155, and like, even if he fought like Poirier, I think he would beat Poirier if they were to run a trilogy. But I don't know, man. Holloway, in my opinion, beats most of the top 15. But again, there's just those outliers like an Oliveira or a Makhachev or maybe a Saryukin, who I just think are, and guys we don't even know about. God forbid, again, if Topuria comes up to 155 soon, like, I feel like there's just so many obstacles in his way, but it definitely could be done. I just don't think it's likely, respectfully. But moving on, up next to Meow Zuzu. What the fuck y'all got me saying, brother? Moving on, up next to Meow Zuzu telling me that Imavov deserves a title shot more than Hamzat. Now, honestly, man, I feel like I'd probably say this is a hot take because I feel like Hamzat has just been kind of so clearly next. But honestly, this is a totally fair argument. Like, I'm not going to dispute this crazy. Like, this is a totally fair argument. It all just depends on kind of what you value or what you look at more. Because if you're really just looking at the caliber of wins, like coming off of back-to-back wins over Usman and Whitaker, especially how dominant the Whitaker win was, say whatever the fuck you want about the jaw, bro. It was an amazing win from Hamzat. So those are really good back-to-back wins to have at middleweight, especially like seeing how Usman this is before he's been taking a year and a half off, you know what I mean? And with how inactive Chimaev is, or the arguments of the company literally is pushing him hard to get the title shot. They've clearly wanted it. They've wanted this for fucking years, bro. From the second this dude was knocking out GM3 in the Apex, they've wanted this shit, brother. But even then, I feel like the Whitaker win kind of solidified it enough to where it's like, okay, Chimaev is next, you know, just fucking do that to Whitaker. At least now he's at a fight up there. I know technically the Usman fight was as well, but like, it's time to just give this guy the title shot. Like, he's been around the UFC for 5 years now, so like, and again, he's just, I don't know what else they would do with him except make him fight Imavov, but then it's like, what the fuck do you do with DDP for these next few months, you know what I mean? So Chimaev, I feel like, definitely should just be next to finally get the title shot. But honestly, man, there's a totally fucking fair argument to have Imavov get the title shot more, or deserve it more, because if you look at just who's been fighting more actively and who's been more consistent and who's just, well, I don't want to say consistent because Chimaev keeps consistently winning, but like, Imavov, man, like, he's been fighting, you know, he's fighting the Roman Delidzes, then he's going on to Cannonier, then he's going on to Allen, then he just beat Adesanya, former champ. Like, he's following the steps correctly, you know what I mean? And like, he's just been making great improvements in his game, and he's really just been taking like the right path to get to the belt. But it just so happens that, you know, Chimaev, we're just on this thing where this guy's on deck, and then now these guys have to fight for after afterwards. Like there's a bit of, I don't want to say a log jam because they're definitely just going to be doing Chimaev versus DDP next in the summer. And honestly, Imavov could just even wait it out if he wanted. I feel like he's not going to. Maybe he should run it with Kyle Baraujo in the meantime, and then the winner of Chimaev and DDP faces the winner of Imavov and Baraujo maybe around the winter, but I don't know. Imavov technically could just wait out, and I feel like that's totally fucking fair. Like, the argument for Imavov to deserve the title shot more is really fucking valid, to be honest. I totally get it. And I don't even think necessarily I disagree. I kind of just want to see DDP versus Hams out really badly. Like, I don't even really fuck with Chimaev, all right? I like getting excited for the dude's fights, but I'm not even close to what I would call like a Chimaev fan or some shit like that. But I do recognize that it's an amazing fight with DDP, and then I feel like we should just give it to him because I feel like, you know, there's a lot of middleweights fighting lately, and like, once we can't forget the feeling that we all had when Chimaev beat Whitaker. Like, everyone was saying like, oh, you can't deny him now, he's for sure up next, it's gonna be a great fight, whatever the fuck. And now, you know, we're seeing a lot of middleweight main events and just a lot of fights going down recently, and a lot more to come for the division. So I feel like each time we see a win like this, we're gonna get a little bit excited and be like, okay, now let's just do Imavov, fuck Chimaev, we didn't deserve it in the first place. Like, we gotta fucking pick and choose what we want here. But overall, I think there's a totally fair argument for this. Like, Imavov really is just taking out the rankings slowly and surely. So one by one, he's been taking them all fucking down. And he's been doing it in really efficient fashion. Like, I wasn't really keen, or I wasn't very happy with the win against Jared Cannonier, but it is what it is. Like, he's riding a good win streak right now. He's beating a lot of ranked middleweights. Again, going from Dolidze to Cannonier to Allen to Adesanya, and, you know, he's gonna probably get another one in there. It's pretty crazy. And like, if Chimaev wasn't here right now, it would be no question that Imavov is next, especially now that he's officially ranked like number 2 or 3 or some crazy shit like that. So totally fair argument for this. I wouldn't even really call it a hot take. Like, I feel like it just depends on which answer you want to go with. Like, what do you value more, you know what I mean? But Imavov totally fucking deserves it. I just think that we're gonna get Hamza versus DDP no matter fucking what. So it is what it is. We're just doing it now, I guess. Even though it's Dana White privilege, even though it's bullshit, even though that this guy gets rewarded for being inactive, and the division is cooked if I hope y'all know this. The division is cooked if Chimaev becomes champ. I hope y'all like seeing that middleweight strap be defended once a goddamn year. And imagine Chimaev gets sick, brother. Gets a little cold, and then he's pulling out and shit. Then what are you gonna do? You're gonna see a lot of interim straps coming in the next couple of years, man. So totally fair fucking argument. Zoo. Alright, so moving on, up next, coming from Bismarck MMA 1898 here, saying that DJ Demetrius Johnson's the most overhyped fighter of all time. Gun to your fucking head, name 3 DJ wins without looking it up. Alright, listen. I honestly agree but disagree at the same time. It's weird, right? Because I do think that DJ to an extent is overhyped. Like, he's not on my Mount Rushmore personally, but like, I know that it's just kind of been this thing for years that everybody just has the same top 4. And I like that we're kind of breaking away from that stigma, bro. Like, we don't all have to have the same, like, official top 4 fighters in UFC. Like, I do have Jones and GSP as 1 and 2, but it's just like, with how fresh and the sport is, and with how deep the talent is getting, or how deeper the talent is getting every single year, and the competition is just getting better and better and more elite, like, it's harder to rack up title defenses, man. And just in general, like, it's harder to get to the top. So I like that we're kind of changing that. Like, I like that we're being a lot more open to the GOAT rankings actually changing, you know what I mean? Like, it could easily be within the next 10 years, dude. John Jones isn't the GOAT of the sport anymore, or even GSP, or whatever the fuck you got right now. But for DJ, man, this is why I agree but disagree, because I feel like I don't want to have him up there that high, and I don't think he should be that high, but he definitely is the top 10 greatest fighter of all time. That's why this is a tricky one to handle, and especially when you know that the level of competition for DJ, especially with flyweight at the time, like, at least flyweight now, it's cooking a little bit. I know that Pantoja's fucking whooping everybody, and we're getting a lot of, like, repetitive matchups, but that's just how good Pantoja is. The division as a whole for flyweight is getting a lot better, a lot deeper. There's great prospects coming up right now, or interesting matchups going down, or just, like, shit along those lines. But it's just like, when DJ was on top, man, he didn't really have those luxuries. You know what I'm saying, bro? They were throwing motherfuckers just coming off a straight from tough, just going straight into a title shot against DJ, who was like pound for pound number 1 at the time. So it's just fucking crazy. I do think that the level of competition is what holds DJ back the most. I think in terms of just skill for skill, DJ is for sure one of the best fighters we've ever fucking seen. Like, that I'd put him in a goddamn top 4 for. Like, just in terms of the pure skill level, just in every regard, in the clinch, with the striking, with the wrestling, going 5 rounds. skills, having some of the greatest fight IQ too. Like, DJ really did it all, skill for skill. He's fucking fantastic, but I can understand the argument for him being overhyped. I really can, because it's like a lot of people really can't name like more than 3 DJ wins. I think everyone just refers to the Cejudo one, who even again, Cejudo beat him the second time, close to Shizen, brother, but still, a lot of people just refer to that, or hey, Ray Borg, man, people forget, man. I agree, but disagree to an extent. Like, I think that the wins over Benavidez as well were good. John Dodson, Henry Cejudo, Ray Borg, shit like that, but it's like, even then, like, where we're kind of going outside of that, I can understand why there's a lot of like questions of like who the fuck or why the fuck, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just gonna agree with disagree on this one. Like, while I don't necessarily think he's overhyped, I also do think maybe he is at the same time. I don't know how to fucking go about this, Bismarck. I'm sorry, brother. I'm agreeing but disagreeing on this. I understand what you're saying. DJ did the best he could with what he was fucking dealt, I guess. The skills were clearly there. The dude remained active. He was on top for a long time, but at the end of the day, like, there is something that needs to be said about the level of competition or the division that he's in. You know what I'm saying? Because those are important factors. I can understand that's a big part of why some people might think he's overhyped. So it is what it is. I'm going to be agreeing but disagreeing on this one. I really don't know how to fucking go about this one. But moving on, up next to Chris Cyborg 2187, saying that although modern fighters are getting better than old ones, they're not going to reach GOAT status in a long time. Just close to them. Recently with Izzy and Usman, so close to GSP and Silva's legacies, but they couldn't pass Jesus, I almost passed out. I didn't fucking breathe while I just said that. But honestly, man, I can understand this, especially with how some people value title defenses so much. I mean, if title defenses were everything, there probably would never be another fucking, like, go to the sport or anybody cracking that top 5, because it's just like I was saying earlier, with how deep the competition is, like, it's hard to be racking up title defenses, you know what I mean? Everybody's so fucking good, like, every single title shot for the most part, all right? There are some divisions or some exceptions, or I'm talking about you, maybe like a Steve Erceg or a Khalil Roundtree, shit like that, you're like, what the fuck? No, but, like, I understand the point that you're making, but I do think that it is possible for them to get GOAT status. Like, look at a guy like Makhachev, who is very, very close to reaching GOAT status. You know, he already just became the lightweight GOAT, so that kind of, you know, he already became his divisional champion, or divisional GOAT, sorry. But then you have guys like Topuria, who's getting close to, you know, he could reach GOAT status. You have a guy like Pereira, he could reach GOAT status. And whether I'm talking about 4 of these guys' divisions or just overall, like, I mean it either way. Like, I think it is very possible. I think that title defenses aren't everything. I do think that they matter to an extent. For sure, they're an important part of somebody's legacy or resume, or someone to just keep in mind when we're talking about like some of the greatest fucking fighters to ever do it. And while I do get your argument, I think it's totally fair. I do think that, like, Jones, like I was saying earlier, I don't think he's going to be the go to the sport in the next 10 years. I really don't. Like, I could see guys like Topuria, Pereira, Makhachev, or somebody we don't even fucking know about right now, or somebody that we do who we're just not thinking about. Like, I think it is very possible for them. Like, once you rack up enough names, or once you get enough wins over amazing competition, like, it really is going to start to add up, and eventually the title defenses or title wins are going to come with it. Even a guy like Merab, man, Merab's getting close to cracking the top 10 if he isn't already there already, and that guy only has 1 title defense, you know what I mean? So while I do understand this, I think it's just a little bit too dependent on how much title defenses mean. I don't think we're ever going to get anybody, though, that is going to get that number again. Even for as good as these guys are going to be, or as good as all the guys I'm naming are, or people we don't even fucking know about yet, I don't think anybody's going to get like the 15 title wins or like 10 title defenses in a row or some shit like that. Maybe we'll see it, fucking maybe, but at that point, with how good talent is nowadays and how much the sports evolve, like, it'd be fucking insane to see. But I don't think that that's all that's needed to reach GOAT status, especially if we're just talking about for each division specifically, you know what I mean? So just moving on to the last one here, coming again from Merab GOAT, saying that Chito Vera has a better chance to beat Merab than most others in the rankings. Crazy cardio and KO power. Also, he isn't soy like O'Malley. Listen, brother. I'm gonna be disagreeing with this pretty hard, bro. Like, I really think that Chito Vera has, I feel like, a weaker chance than a lot of others compared to the rankings. I'm looking at Mario Batista's bitch ass as well. You know what I'm saying? Who actually, ironically, I think that they're in the talks to fight soon. Chito and Mario Batista. But alright, regardless, man, like, I will give it to Chito. He has amazing cardio, and he has one of the best chins in the UFC. and he does have some pop behind his shots, but I definitely don't. And all right, I will say he's not soy. All right, so you got me there. But listen, like, to say that he has a better chance than a lot of the other guys in the rankings, like, I just don't think so, man. Like, I do think that Merab, especially now that he's beating Umar, I really don't know who the fuck's gonna beat him. Like, I would have said if anybody, it'd be Umar, but even he lost. Like, I don't think Jan would beat him in a rematch. I don't think O'Malley beat him in a rematch. I think Merab will beat Figgy and Sandhagen, like, blah, 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 etc., etc. But Chito Vera, and I've gone on record for saying this, I think he's one of the most overrated fucking fighters of all time, so I'm a bit biased here. I feel like he just relies a bit too much on those variables that aren't classified as kind of just skills. Like, he relies a lot on the chin and on the cardio, and just like, he's a slow starter. Like, he really relies on just picking it up in that, kind of third round to be on, and that's how he either gets the finishes or kind of really starts to pull away from guys on the scorecards or piece them the fuck up. Chito Vera is a good fighter, all right? He's a motherfucker. He's got good qualities, and he's a good striker. But listen, like, I do think that the guy's overrated as shit, and I think comparatively to other guys in the rankings, I put Chito Vera on the lesser end of things when it comes to beating Merab. Like, maybe in terms of cardio, he'd be able to keep up, but I don't think that Chito Vera would even be able to make it that far, Well, Merab's a decision machine. He'd get fucked up, is all I'm saying. Especially with a guy like Merab as champ, who's so dominant with the wrestling, and we all know that's not really Chito Vera. While he does have solid takedown defense, it's not really his shit. It's bread and butter. So this is a hot take, brother. I'm gonna be disagreeing with this one, but hey, all due respect to Chito, alright? He's definitely got skills. He's definitely good, but I think he's overrated as fuck, and I just can't see, like, him really being a guy who gives a lot more problems to Merab than other guys in the rankings. You know what I mean? Even guys that I haven't mentioned. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it. Kind of went through a few right there. So thank you to everybody who submitted all your hot takes. I really appreciate it. Like, I tried doing this video when I first started up the channel, and I didn't even have enough people watching to even do it. So I was just going over my own hot takes or like some shit I could have submitted on Instagram. So the fact that I got like a bunch of responses this time and shit like that, or even some that I didn't include in the video, I appreciate you guys a lot for sending shit in. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you. And let me know your hot takes in the comments below. I'd love to hear them, and maybe I'll throw them in the next video. I kind of want to make this more so of a series on the channel. So yeah, thank you guys so very much for tuning in. All the Smoke MMA. I'd really appreciate if you guys could help me get to 1,000 subscribers. It would mean a lot. But even regardless, thanks so much for tuning in, making it this far in the video. Appreciate you all a lot. All the Smoke MMA. Thank you guys so much. Leave your comments and hot takes and opinions in general in the comments below, and I will see you all next time.